You are smarter alone than you are in a group. Not a little smarter, measurably, significantly smarter. And the bigger the group, the worse it gets. Scientists have known this for over a century, and yet every important decision humanity makes, wars, elections, economies, we make them together. Which raises an uncomfortable question. What exactly happens to your intelligence the moment other people enter the room? The answer isn't what you'd expect. It's not distraction. It's not peer pressure. It's not even fear of embarrassment. Something that was wired into you long before you ever sat in a classroom or walked into a meeting room. And once you understand what it actually is, you'll start seeing it everywhere. Let's start with a name most people have never heard. Gustave Le Bon. In 1895, this French psychologist wrote a book called The Crowd. Governments hated it. Philosophers argued about it. And over a century later, it has never gone out of print. Le Bon had spent years observing what happened to ordinary people the moment they became part of a group. His conclusion was simple and deeply uncomfortable. A crowd is not a collection of individuals. It is a different kind of organism entirely, one with its own intelligence, and that intelligence is almost always lower than the people inside it. Mood, impulse, belief, and individual judgment quietly switches off. In 1955, psychologist Solomon Asch ran a now famous experiment at Swarthmore College. He showed participants a line on a card. Then he showed them 3 other lines and asked which one matched. The answer was obvious. Anyone could see it. Alone, participants got it right more than 99% of the time. Then Asch added other people to the room. Actors planted by the research team who confidently gave the wrong answer. And something remarkable happened. 75% of real participants gave the wrong answer at least once, not because they were confused, not because the lines suddenly looked different, but because the group said so. They looked at clear visual evidence directly in front of them and chose to disbelieve their own eyes. When researchers interviewed them afterward, most said they had genuinely started to doubt themselves. The group hadn't just changed their answer, it had changed what they believed was true. And here's where it gets stranger, because this wasn't weakness. It wasn't stupidity. It was your brain doing exactly what it was built to do. For most of human history, the group was survival. If everyone around you suddenly started running, the worst possible move was to stop and think about whether running was rational. You ran. If the tribe believed the river was cursed, arguing with the tribe cost you shelter, food, protection, and belonging. The people who questioned the group too loudly and too often didn't survive to pass on their genes. The people who felt social pressure as something close to physical pain, who felt genuine discomfort when they stood apart from the crowd, those people stayed close, stayed safe, and kept the species alive. That discomfort you feel when you disagree with a room full of people, that pull to go along, to soften your position, to suddenly find the other side more reasonable than you did 5 minutes ago. That is not a flaw. That is millions of years of successful engineering, running in the wrong world. But the cost of that engineering is enormous, and history has the receipts. In 1972, psychologist Irving Janis studied some of the most catastrophic decisions in American political history. The Bay of Pigs invasion, the failure to anticipate Pearl Harbor, the escalation of the Vietnam War. He found a pattern so consistent across all of them that he gave it a name: groupthink, the process by which smart, experienced, well-informed people inside a group systematically talk each other out of the correct answer. It doesn't happen because people are afraid to speak. It happens because they genuinely stop seeing alternatives. The group develops a shared reality. Dissenting information gets filtered out before it even reaches conscious thought. Warning signs get reframed as manageable. Doubt gets swallowed before it becomes a sentence, and the more cohesive and confident the group, the worse the effect. The smartest rooms in the world are sometimes the most dangerous places to make a decision. But here's what nobody tells you. It gets worse. In 1965, social psychologist Robert Zajonc discovered something he called social facilitation. When other people are simply present, watching, existing nearby, not even interacting with you, your performance on complex tasks gets worse. Your brain interprets the presence of others as a signal to shift into a mode optimized for simple, fast, familiar responses. Not deep thinking, not careful analysis, just the fastest available answer. Because in the ancestral environment, other people nearby usually meant something was happening. Something that required action, not reflection. Your brain still runs that same program today. Put you in a quiet room alone with a hard problem, and you'll think more clearly than if someone is simply sitting across the table watching you. The audience doesn't even have to say a word. Their presence alone turns down the part of your brain you need most. So here is what is actually happening every time you walk into a group. Your threat detection system quietly activates. Your sensitivity to social signals spikes. Your need to belong increases. And your tolerance for standing apart from consensus drops. All of this happens below conscious awareness. You don't feel stupider. You feel normal. You feel collaborative and open-minded and socially aware, which is exactly what makes it so effective. The mechanism that lowers your individual intelligence is the same one that makes you feel like a good, reasonable person for going along. The groups you trust the most are the ones with the most power over your thinking. Your family, your closest friends, the community you feel most at home in. The smarter and more cohesive the group feels, the less friction there is to catch the errors before they become decisions. You were built for the group, biologically, psychologically, completely, and that is exactly why the group can so quietly, so efficiently turn you into less than you are alone. The pull you feel toward consensus isn't weakness, it's ancient. It kept your ancestors alive for 300,000 years. But your ancestors weren't voting, or managing teams, or deciding what to believe on the internet. You are. The thinking is still yours to do. The group just makes it harder than it should be. And now you know why.